Hello, guys. Today I'm with Steve and Adam from the band Kevin from the USA. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Good to be
How
here.
you doing? How you doing?
I'm all
Doing
right.
well. Yeah.
Good. So there is I've heard there's a new album from Kevin.
You heard right.
This the seventh album.
Is it 7 now?
I've
Wow.
heard that. Someone
Man.
told me that, and
Okay, I believe you.
and the first one in 10 years. So which is amazing. So what's the story about these 10 years?
Haha, 10 years. A lot has happened in those 10 years, high and low and growing, together and apart. But pandemic times, it was kind of like, it seemed like the right time to get ready to do another Caven record. And, Steve started writing a lot during the pandemic because everything was kind of shut down and felt like the time was right to saddle up again and make this work. And, Nate joined up and here we are with another record, started this band almost 25 years ago and here we are still doing it. So it's cool to still be doing it. I think we feel very lucky to still be doing it, and it's a really exciting time for the band.
I had the chance to see bands 25 years ago, like maybe they didn't get Escape Plan, and I got the this mood of the late 90s. We can still feel into your music now.
Cool. Yeah, I
You know
mean,
what I mean? You know
the
what I mean?
90s were that was a very potent time for lots of music under the umbrella of rock and roll, especially, and punk and hardcore. I mean, that's sort of when we were introduced to that whole world of music, and it really changed our lives. And I mean, the formation of Caven was such that we wanted to have this vehicle for immersing ourselves in the world of punk and hardcore within our local community. And that was 1995, so right in the dead center of the 90s. And yeah, here we are in 2022, still doing it. And I think as long as we continue doing this band, there'll be some element of our roots always sort of showing in the music and our vibe and the just the whole attitude of doing a band in general, really.
And having a band for more than 25 years, it's a rough thing, especially during the two last years.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so what's your motivation? What's inside the engine to go on?
Um, a lot of things. I think we still feel like we have to prove a lot to ourselves. I think also we want to fulfill a vision that Caleb left us with of, doing a studio record with Caven, which I think was also very healing for all of us involved. So that was the motivation. I think we always feel like we still have something to prove. Even this far into the game, which is good. But like I said, it was really fulfilling a vision that Caleb left us with to get the band in the studio and really focus upon the music that sets us most apart from our peers and the music that that's unique to us and that put our best foot forward, almost like our best songs on steroids. And that's kind of what our new record is, a studio record. We fulfilled that vision, and we're really excited about it.
So you added Nate Newton, something like 3 years ago in the band from
Yes.
from Converge. So how did he modify the music and maybe the spirit, the vocals?
Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky that Nate not only wanted to be a member of Caven, but he certainly applied himself as a creative force, much above and beyond simply just going through the motions of being in our band. And in the writing process, that was definitely something that we all kept in mind and that I kept in mind when constructing song arrangements and putting together lyrics and writing vocal melodies and, um, kind of setting up vocal parts. I think with Caven especially, like a big part of the sound of the band is having multiple vocalists. I know at a time in the period of the band, it was more focused on just me as the primary singer. But really, the most interesting element of the band, I think, in terms of vocals, has always been just diversifying who's singing and having multiple voices. And when Nate joined the band, we were like, oh, no brainer. Like, we need him singing on as much stuff as possible. I mean, his band, Channel, was a huge inspiration on myself and Adam. And that's a band that Nate was in prior to Converge. And, his vocals in Converge are amazing too. He's a great songwriter, singer, and doom writer. And Caven and Jesuit, his other band, toured together years ago. So, yeah, no question there about like having him as a creative force, just opening the doors in Caven for him to express that.
This is actually one of the highlights of this album. The duality of the vocals gives another dimension. It's really diversified, especially because there are something like 14 tracks. And today, an album with 14 tracks, it's amazing. We especially we are listening most of the time EPs or singles, and so it's a long album. It's a long journey.
Mm.
And it is a long journey, but I think the pandemic is reflective of making a record during pandemic times. And I also feel like, we had a lot of great music to put out there. It would have been a shame to shave any of it off. That we were really stoked on everything we were working on. There were even songs, there were certain songs that I was like, oh, I'm not even sure if this is going to make the cut. But every song we worked on, I made the record, and we were really happy with all of it. Even like the the ambient stuff in between song stuff. I feel like that really adds to the record as well. We wanted to create definitely a sonic journey, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I felt like we fulfilled that vision.
Did you throw out a lot of ideas and a lot of songs for this album?
We definitely cast stuff to the side that didn't really check the boxes as far as epicness goes, or we would have sort of duplicates of like a certain feeling or a certain vibe that we were trying to sort of achieve, depending on where you're looking at, like in terms of the sequence of the record. So, Nightmare Eyes, for instance, there was maybe like one or two other choices for songs that had that similar kind of vibe to it. But, in the selection process, it was just a matter of weighing like which songs with that like slow, doomy vibe was going to be the best, really the best song lyrically, structurally, the most interesting out of the bunch. And I would say there was maybe upwards of like 10 songs that, ended up on the cutting room floor.
Okay, and of course, one of the highlights too is the Kurt Ballou production. It's funny because you can listen to it immediately. The sound is so amazing, especially with the bass. And this is the Kurt Ballou, the Kurt Ballou sound, the very warm sound. So was it essential for you to work with this guy?
We've known Kurt since we were in high school, and it's amazing to watch his journey from his studio in his parents' garage to when Steve and I recorded like the Esterwood Rosin Kid Kilowatt demo to like his first studio in Norwood to where he is now in Salem, Mass. He's really built an empire with God City, and he's come so far. And he's truly a talented and amazing producer. He does so many. I can't believe the mixes he makes now, like on the fly, and it seemed like a no-brainer to work with Kurt. Of course, we made records with Kurt over the years. As Stephen Mutoid Man, myself, and Clouds. They did. Nate and Jared did a Doom Riders record with Kurt. So, we obviously was pretty familiar with Kurt. So it seemed to make the most sense. I think Kurt also knew it was at stake of doing like a brand new Caven record. I know he knew that it had to be great. Kurt and Nate also being on the sidelines watching Caven our whole career, they kind of knew where to steer us. They were kind of like, this is where you guys need to go, kind of stay in these lanes, which is really good for us. And it was amazing to work with Kurt. Also, I remember I've said this many times when we were just doing live takes, and we go back into the control room and listen back. And I remember saying to Steve and Nate and Jr., I can't believe what this sounds like. I haven't heard Caven sound like this in so long, just because we had been doing practice space, recordings, kind of renegade recordings. We haven't been in the studio in so long, and I couldn't believe how we were sounding. And Kurt certainly amplified us and brought us to the next level without a doubt. It was a no-brainer.
Were you surprised by your sound in studio when you listen to the first tracks of the first recordings?
Well, yes and no. I mean, like Adam said, we've worked with Kurt on and off with other bands and projects over the years. So being in the environment of God City and being in the presence of Kurt and having that working relationship, that's something that's very familiar to us. But yeah, also to expand further on what Adam said, just hearing the playbacks of these live takes that we're doing, because that was always the intention, was to go into the studio and set up and play the song straight through as a band. Of course, we would, go back and fix little mistakes or change little things here and there. But one of the benefits of live recording is that everybody can then step out of the live room and go into the control room and listen to a complete playback of everybody playing at once, and you really just get a feeling for where a song is going and vibing on a recording. I think it's good for the engineer as well, just in terms of placing things sonically. I've never been a huge fan of recording one instrument at a time. And that's also reflective of how Caven really built these songs. What started as solo recordings of mine in this little experimental nook in a New York City apartment, we would take those ideas and flesh them out as a full band in our rehearsal space. And, we were able to continue that process in the recording studio, and that same working atmosphere and formation. I think it just, it really tied everything together.
Great. Steve, you told us that, pretty everyone was involved into the writing process, especially in the lyrics. So what are the lyrics you wanted to write on?
Well, I think each song has its own story, and that story starts with a very concrete image of a song title, and that was all very deliberate. It actually made it easier for me to write, because if I had a very clear idea of what a title was, then all the lyrics supporting this image or this action or this thought could come together more easily. So, I think that was it. I just sort of had this standard for, I wanted a song title to be something as cool as a movie title, or something as cool as a great band name. And then the lyrics just sort of followed after that.
What are the movies that could inspire you?
Oh, that's a great question. Great movies that have inspired me. Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
It's a movie I've watched up and down, left and right for years. A movie that's very inspirational for Caven. I guess it's more of a music documentary in a sense, but Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii. I mean, that's the reason why in the back of our guitar cabs we spray painted Caven Boston, because you watch Live at Pompeii and they've got Pink Floyd London. And so there's just so much about that movie that we've internalized over the years.
And what about your video clip? It's like a gore or horror movie, on the Four Bloods pillar, right? The song. Is it a quick reference to gore and horror movies, like in the 80s or in the 90s?
For sure. I mean, we're all, like Steve mentioned, we all loved Evil Dead 2. And, that was certainly a vision also of working with Jordan from 2 Minutes to Late Night, who Steve introduced me to. Steve's established a relationship with him when he's in his time in New York, being in the house band on that show and doing all those bedroom covers through the pandemic. It was fun to go to New York. I was really sick during the filming of that video, but Jordan had some really fun ideas. And, it was fun to just act like a jackass and pretend you're a zombie and, really sell it, crawling around, I didn't have to have blood poured on me. Steve and Nate, really good sports. I could tell Nate was not happy about having blood poured on his long hair. So, it was a fun day, and the video came out awesome. And it's funny, a friend of mine said, look, if you made that video in 1983, it would have been like $1 million,
So what was the budget for this video clip? Pretty low. Pretty low.
It didn't cost nearly close to $1 million, and it's amazing in 2022. Like as far as what we were able to spend on that video, just how far the dollar goes in the world of technology. Because especially in film, your capabilities just keep getting more and more vast and wide and more easily accessible, and it's pretty cool. And also the 2 Minutes guys are used to doing a lot with a little. That's kind of something I feel like they really come to excel at through doing these bedroom covers, where they have to field footage of all various sorts of quality, and it's amazing. Yeah, if you just go through their bedroom covers, the amount of creativity and the amount of work that they put into that stuff is awesome. And it gave us the confidence to want them to make a cave-in video.
And so, what about live? Will you play soon, and especially in Europe?
We have plans to do some U.S. touring this summer, and then hopefully doing some Europe in the fall. And hopefully, I'm sure there'll be more, because I think it's an exciting time for the band. And I think we're all up for doing as much as we can, schedules providing. And, Steve and Nate have a lot of other bands going on, which all awesome stuff with those bands as well. So we'll do as much as we can.